Okay, here's another question for you. Is it ever okay for a celebrity to call out a critic? So just a few days ago, singer Lana Del Rey called out NPR's music critic Ann Powers, who reviewed her latest album. The singer tweeted out saying, "I don't even relate to one observation you made about the music. There's nothing uncooked about me." So, Sylvia, what are your thoughts on this? Is it okay? Is it a classy thing for somebody to call out a critic?
I think it's just kind of a young mistake. You know, it's really when a critic reviews your work, it's not for you. It's for the consumer. And you have to look at the person who's doing the review. Sometimes it's just an honor to be reviewed by that particular person. Sometimes the review says more about the person who's writing the review than it is about the work that they're reviewing. So it's like you have to look at all of those different factors.
And not take it personally.
I mean, it's gonna hurt. Even now, you know, 16 years in my career, you write a bad review about my work, it's gonna hurt. So I don't read my reviews because they're not for me.
Right.
Unless you're directly sending a note to me, like on Twitter or Facebook, something like, "Dear Sylvia, I read your book, this is what I thought." Then you're talking to me. But a review on a site, in a magazine, you're writing to that consumer.
And dare I say, I mean, I don't know if you agree with this because I'm not a writer, I'm not a published author yet. But when you are writing, it almost, and the ability to critique and also to critique the critiquer, I feel like that's part of a very healthy democracy. If we believe that anybody can say anything about art and work, which being able to do that art and work is a privilege in many places of the world, then you being able to defend yourself is also part of that healthy democracy back and forth, given especially all the things that you just said. Generally speaking, though, I think to what you said, this is Lana. I don't know Lana, but she seems like a lovely person. But I think as an artist, she should know, like, the best art to me is one that can take a little bit of a shake and it still holds. There was somebody who wrote something in The Atlantic recently and he said, "Give me art that gets stronger when you fight it, not weaker." You know, in other words, for you, Lana, let it shake you and see what stands. And for the consumer, we can make the call.
Right, and you want it to be a conversation.
Yeah, but you also have to remember that critics make a lot of terrible assessments about certain things. Like, I think a lot of us don't remember the fact that something like the movie The Shining, which I think is arguably one of Stanley Kubrick's best films ever, anyone who's seen it loves it, it was panned by Roger Ebert when it first came out. He gave it a terrible review. He later took that back because he realized he was wrong. Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. I mean, I think there were a few reviewers who came out and, like, whatever, didn't like it, thought it was whatever. And even Pablo Picasso was criticized in his time. So I think sometimes also, that's why I would say it was kind of a rookie move. To me, Lana Del Rey, the best thing she could do is just kind of be like, you don't like it, you don't get it. And that's fine. The people who love me will understand this work.
Well, I think that's the pull right now, is that there are more and more artists like Lana Del Rey. Lizzo, for example, took exception to a piece of criticism about her work. She's had like the top album of the last 18 months. So one reviewer not liking her work should not be a big deal, but she went a step further, and many artists are starting to believe what she believed or what she said. Lizzo actually said the only people who should be able to critique music are musicians themselves, which I think is ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
And many people were saying, you know, you don't like one critic's review of your work, then don't read that critic. But to dismiss an entire field of journalism, which is artistic criticism, is a major mistake. The people who didn't appreciate Margaret Atwood, I hope weren't saying, or the people who defended Margaret Atwood, I hope weren't saying, book criticism should just go, throw it out with everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, Lizzo had to walk that back, because even April Reign, who is a culture critic, everybody knows her, or you know the hashtag she invented, Oscars So White, April Reign clapped back at Lizzo and said, "Sit down. This is not for you." And she wrote, "This isn't the way to go, sis. You have a tremendous career in front of you. Do not alienate folks with something you can't support." Just about every single industry that is publicly critiqued has folks who don't create what they're critiquing, from food, film, fashion, TV, and music. So it's not criticism in general, it's one person.
Yep.
And for artists to be so sensitive, and they're coming, like Ariana, Justin Bieber, so many young artists are starting to actually push back against critics and endanger the field. That scares me. All of us here are artists, and that should not be what we do about criticism.
Yeah, I agree. But I wonder, I mean, I wonder if part of this is because there's this constant din of armchair critics on Twitter, so that's created its own kind of alchemy and like enterprise, and it's very annoying to continually listen to people criticizing, but also if it's this next generation of people who are a little bit more
Snowflakey?
I didn't say it.
Snowflakey?
Well, I didn't say it.
Wait, really? That's what your friends are for.
Yes.
You pick up your phone, you call your friends, you can complain to your friends about it. Don't go out there publicly and say that somebody who's doing their job in making an honest opinion about your work, whether that's their opinion, right? That's their opinion. Tell that to your friend.
Yeah.
I don't
Sylvia.
agree.